With the rise of AI, job displacement has actually become a big talking point and a source of worry, especially among students. But should you be actually thinking about that? Let's try and look at a few predictions floating around. A study from Goldman Sachs estimates that 300 million jobs are at risk of being lost or degraded. The International Monetary Fund says 40% of jobs are exposed to AI. The World Economic Forum actually predicts 92 million jobs lost by 2050. But AI is only one of the factors at play, and they also predict that by 2050 there'll be 172 million jobs created. And if you're still following, 172 is more than 92, which means more jobs. As we can see, predictions about AI vary quite a lot and sometimes use words like degraded or exposed and don't necessarily talk about the jobs that might be eventually created. In order to better understand these numbers, I talked to two economists who have written a lot about AI, Flore Barcellini and Moustafa Zouinar, who remind us that these predictions are largely speculative and don't take into account every factor.
C'est-à-dire qu'ils font comme si l'IA tombait dans une entreprise et que l'entreprise ou l'État ou la société n'avait aucune potentialité de réaction. Or, en fait, l'hypothèse forte qu'on peut faire, c'est que les effets de l'IA sur l'emploi et sur le travail peuvent être régulés, soit au niveau des États ou de l'Europe ou plus largement, soit aussi au niveau des entreprises, notamment à travers les méthodes de conduite de projet qu'elles peuvent mettre en œuvre pour justement faire en sorte que les systèmes d'intelligence artificielle ne conduisent pas à une dégradation des conditions de travail, de la qualité du travail, de la santé et de la performance.
So let's forget about these predictions and take a look at what we can observe right now. And one area which has been under a lot of scrutiny recently is the entry-level jobs market. Because they're portrayed as the most basic jobs, companies feel like they can replace them more easily with AI. When it comes to recruiting, certain companies are adopting what they call AI-first strategies, which basically means that they look at a task, ask if ChatGPT can do it, and if it can, then they will not hire someone to do it. Different companies have publicly adopted that method, like Duolingo, for example. Research from Oxford Economics found that unemployment is rising for recent graduates in certain fields like computer science or finance. A recent Stanford University study found that early career employment fell by 13% in fields where AI adoption is high, like software development, for example. But the impact of AI is not actually that obvious, and a recent study from Yale University is actually less alarming. While anxiety over the effects of AI on today's labor market is widespread, our data suggests it remains largely speculative. And that's one of the issues with these types of studies. Sometimes AI is used as a front, as an excuse for companies to sack a bunch of people or to stop recruiting rather than admitting to financial difficulties, for example.
C'est un prétexte pour diminuer la masse salariale. C'est-à-dire qu'on va laisser penser que oui, l'IA est nécessaire aujourd'hui, on ne peut pas faire autrement. Mais en réalité, derrière cet affichage de l'IA, il y a une volonté de réduire la masse salariale, et ceci sans concertation, sans dialogue avec les personnes qui sont concernées, les salariés, les représentants du personnel.
So are we panicking over nothing? These types of fears about tech replacing jobs is not actually new. We've been through technological changes before, with computing, with automation, with the internet, but none of them have led to mass destruction of jobs. Because even though tech can lead to more jobs, that transition period is not smooth for everyone everywhere. When a job vanishes, it isn't magically replaced by another new one in the same geographical area or for a compatible set of skills, something which is sometimes referred to as transition lag. But that transition is actually harder for certain people, and unsurprisingly, it's easier for wealthier individuals living in wealthier societies to adapt. And that's why certain experts are calling governments to improve social safety nets or facilitate access to training programs. So maybe we're not actually asking the right question. Maybe it's not about jobs being destroyed, but jobs changing. AI doesn't replace jobs, it actually sets a new playing field, a new framework where expectations are much higher and workers are expected to follow the pace set by AIs.
Une subordination accrue, une automatisation accrue de plein de choses, ça irait plutôt vers une augmentation, une réduction des marges de manœuvre des salariés, des travailleurs, et potentiellement une nouvelle forme de terrorisme ou une revisite du terrorisme.
Not convinced? We are actually starting to see it happen right now. Have you heard, for example, about 996? It's a trend we're starting to see emerge in certain work cultures, like in San Francisco, for example, where people work from 9 in the morning till 9 in the evening, 6 times a week, which is a 72-hour week.
Au lieu de faire gagner du temps, ça va augmenter la charge de travail. Par exemple, dans le domaine de la programmation informatique, l'IA générative permet de générer du code de façon plus rapide. Mais en même temps, ce qui est généré grâce à l'IA nécessite souvent une activité de vérification, parce que l'IA n'est pas infaillible. L'IA est faillible, on le voit assez bien avec ce qu'on appelle les hallucinations, c'est-à-dire la tendance des systèmes d'IA générative en particulier à produire de fausses informations et parfois des erreurs de sécurité logicielle importantes.
It's hard to evaluate the precise impact of AI on the job market because it's actually hard to predict how fast AI will evolve in the next few years. Some experts believe that AI improvement will become progressively slower. Some actually believe that certain models are becoming dumber, and there are many more factors at play. Could public sentiment, for example, slow down rapid AI adoption by companies? Even if we're seeing jobs disappearing and being replaced by AI, is that a long-lasting change, or is it just companies chasing a hype cycle which will eventually wear off? So yes, it seems quite probable that AI will change and might even destroy jobs. The real story might not be about AI taking over everything. It might be about humans working differently, harder, under new pressures, and how we collectively decide to respond to that change. But in order to respond effectively to that change, it's important that we can observe it correctly.
Ce qu'on cherche plutôt à promouvoir, c'est qu'il y ait aussi des observatoires in situ dans les entreprises, dans les collectivités, dans les communautés, qui observent en temps réel l'usage tel qu'il se développe pour en faire un vrai élément de science pour penser ce qui est en train de se passer, soit quand l'usage de l'IA émerge, soit quand il est imposé en fait.